There is a comic shop beyond that which is known to man. It is a shop filled with arcane and oddity. A long box is in the corner, marred with layers of shadow and dust. It contains the comics between the pit of man's fears and the limits of his bank account. This is the dimension of stupidity. It is an area which we call the Mylite Zone.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Up and Atom Comics. Today, on this episode of the Mylite Zone, we're going to be talking about one of those very odd comics that exists. And so, the purpose of the Mylite Zone is to dive a little deeper into the strange and unusual comics that do exist out there. A lot of these things are pet projects for people, or just people that wanted to put out something to say that they've made a comic. So there's a lot of fun things out there, but by fun also can be very quite odd. And so this one I want to highlight Captain Dingleberry. Yes, you heard that right. Captain Dingleberry. And these little uh, dingleberries that are around Captain Dingleberry are known as the fecal four. So, yeah, so let's do a little bit deeper dive into Captain Dingleberry. So, Captain Dingleberry is actually it is written by Harper Jaten. I want to say Jaten, Jaten. But the big creator behind this is Rick Remender. So this is actually the first work, like comic work for Rick Remender. Rick Remender, prior to this, worked in animation. He was involved in like the Iron Giant and some different Anastasia, some different things like that. But a lot of people in comics know him from doing things like Fear Agent, Black Science, Low, Deadly Class. He also did some Punisher as well, Tokyo Ghost, which a lot of people love. There are some great independent books that Rick Remender has been involved in. So when I went back and was looking up some stuff about Rick Remender, I found out that his first published work was this. And I was like, I have got to get a copy of this. So not only did I get Captain Dingleberry 1, but I also picked up Captain Dingleberry number 2. I'm not going to go heavily into this one, but with Captain Dingleberry 1, this also has a great kind of double cover, front cover and a back cover. And then you get an idea of like who this guy is. So we're going to go into that. So Rick Remender in this book, he actually did pencils on pages 1 through 5 and 18 through 24. So he's mostly known as a writer, but he is doing art in this book. This is page 1. So you can see some of his, he's got some talent there for putting that on. And he also does inks for pages 1 through 11 and 18 through 24. And then pencils and inks are done by Harper Jaten on 11 through 17, and Roy Hensley does pencils on pages 6 to 10. So this book came out in August of 1998, and it's published by what is called Underhanded Comics. I think this is just like a self-published entity. I don't recall there being any other Underhanded Comics titles or any kind of like library of books other than trying to put out something called Captain Dingleberry. So this book was actually a lot of fun to read. It starts off. There is this artist here who's kind of starting off to work on comics or something. It has some great funny humor in the beginning. and he's coming out of an art store where he purchases a bunch of supplies, and he's kind of thought bubbling to himself, if you can't teach, if you can't teach, get a job at the art store and pretend you're there by choice. So I think that's kind of funny. And then because this artist is known for being a comic artist, he's kind of hunted down by this guy who kind of tracks him down in the back alley that was trying to get an autograph from him. So it's kind of like a work imitating life, kind of art imitating life kind of thing. But this other fanboy right here, is this is kind of focusing in on it. He says, I waited behind the art store for you to sign my comic like you said, but I guess you forgot. Hey, careful of the spine, okay? I do a comic too. It's the mystical tale of a Jewish sailor who discovers the lost satanic bitch sword and is transformed into Mamarina, queen of the Blood Claw tribe. And then he's like, blah, blah, blah. And so basically, the artist just ends up like pummeling the guy to like, don't bug me for an autograph or anything. And then to save the day, here's the panel of the first appearance. There is Captain Dingleberry in all of his glory with the Fecal Four, and they are trying to restore some justice. So basically, this story just kind of takes off. They are attacking this guy. He's beating up a lot of these initial Dingleberry things that come out of Captain Dingleberry, and he's like, all right, you have forced my hand. I am plunging deep, and he's sticking his hand down the back of his shorts into what he's calling the cosmic cornhole, and he brings forth. He's like, and from my ass cometh the four cornsmen of the Apaka shits. So he summons these dingleberries. One's named Boyle, Super Turd, Crazy Eight, and Runny. And so they have some different powers, as you can imagine. They attack the guy, kind of go down his backside, and it gives him a diarrhea blast. So a lot of this, I mean, I know it's simple humor, it's toilet humor or whatever, but it's fun. And so he ends up, Captain Dingleberry, after they subdue this guy, ends up sucking him into this cosmic bunghole of power. And that is where the story kind of continues in episode 2, Yeast of Eden. And the artist is in this other world, and he doesn't know what it is, what's going on in there. And then they were like, "Oh, you have to meet these little cherubim kind of demon cherubims." Well, there's an angel and a demon, so we'll say say some little good and bad guys are like, "Hey, you have to meet the person that's in control of our world." And it is this guy that we saw in the back, who is known as Sir Richard Pumpaloaf. So Sir Richard Pumpaloaf is in charge of this world that is within Captain Dingleberry. So that is kind of the setup for the story. It's a lot of fun to read. There's like a third story in this one that also is finding one of the lost Dingleberries who's actually in a bar and doing that. And the story kind of does continue in those parts of what's happening in the real world, what's happening in Sir Richard Pumpaloaf's world, and then what's happening with that lost Dingleberry. So there are. I should have researched this a little bit. I think there's about 5 or 6 issues of Captain Dingleberry. I just went for the first two because I didn't want to get the whole series and then be worried about that. If it was terrible, I might have spent a little bit of money on that. So uh, anyway, just wanted to pass along the Mylite Zone. Do you own a copy of Captain Dingleberry? Have you ever seen a copy of Captain Dingleberry? I would be curious to see what people have thought about this. So, um, please, this is like I said, this is going to be an early episode for the Mylite Zone. I'm planning on featuring some of these different books in future episodes of weird things from my collection. But let me know if you own either one of these, or do you have the whole run, ha ha ha, of Captain Dingleberry? Please let me know. Let me know how it turns out. I'm kind of curious about that. I've never seen this. I happened to find it online once I was started looking to find out about Rick Remender's work. And I would be curious to see what Rick Remender thinks of this. I'm hoping at some point. I would love it if he's at a con where I'm at. I am definitely marching up to the line with an issue of Captain Dingleberry. Tokyo Ghost, Deadly Class, those things, which I do have those runs as well, and have thought great things about those books. But I want to get Captain Dingleberry #1 signed. I would just like to hear what he would say about that. So anyway, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you like me featuring these weird books. And until next time, make sure you flip through a floppy. And take care, everybody. Bye bye.